Donald Trump's fixer turned foe returned to the witness stand and faced a bruising round of questioning from the former U.S. president's lawyers. Michael Cohen's testimony this week was set to link Trump to all aspects of a hush money scheme that prosecutors say was aimed at stifling stories that threatened his 2016 election campaign. Donald Trump entering the courthouse with an entourage.
I do have a lot of surrogates, and they are speaking very beautifully, and they come all from all over Washington, and they're highly respected, and they think this is the greatest scam they've ever seen.
Showing support, his son Eric and daughter-in-law Laura, along with some high-profile and outspoken politicians.
I am ashamed as an American citizen to sit here in a courtroom watching the former leader of the free world, and let's be honest, likely next leader of the free world, sitting with the indignity in this dingy third-rate courtroom with fourth-rate prosecutors and a fifth-rate lawyer on the stand as a witness, who actually is violating attorney-client privilege left and right. Nobody's even talking about that.
Vivek Ramaswamy, U.S. House Speaker Mike Johnson, and other Republicans flocked to court showing they stand with Trump.
I called President Trump and told him I wanted to be here myself to call out what is a travesty of justice, and I think everybody around the country can see that.
It's election interference at a level that's never taken place before. And now, if you don't mind, I'm going to go into the icebox and sit for a long time. Thank you very much.
So in they all went, along with Trump's former lawyer and fixer of more than 10 years, Michael Cohen.
Why do they call you fixer? You think you're worthy of your own show? Lying to the public?
The prosecution continued questioning their star witness this morning, giving time for Cohen to own up to lying in the past about his involvement in campaign finance violations and to voice his remorse for his past association with Trump. I regret doing things for him that I should not have, lying, bullying people in order to effectuate a goal. I violated my moral compass and I suffered the penalty, as has my family, Cohen said.
I think what the jury has to reconcile is if you'll lie to Congress, if you'll lie to the American people previously, if you'll lie to the IRS, why should I believe right now that you're not lying to me?
Cohen pleaded guilty to 8 criminal counts over the years, including tax evasion, saying he did so after talking to his family and that he, quote, would not lie for President Trump anymore. Cue the fireworks in court. After a short lunch break, it was the defense's turn to take on Michael Cohen. While he answered questions calmly, the line of interrogation was tense. From his TikTok videos bashing Donald Trump,
not a good day for Donald in New York,
to confirming the fact that just last week he was selling T-shirts with Trump behind bars. Questions about Cohen's bizarre social media accounts became heated. Todd Blanche saying, "You went on TikTok and called me a crying little expletive just before the trial began." Cohen nodded and said, "Sounds like something I would say." Then there was this TikTok.
Goes right into that little cage, which is where he belongs, in a cage like an animal.
That goes to Michael Cohen's bias against Donald Trump. That matters here. So he went right to this issue of you have this sort of all-consuming personal hatred and a vested interest in this case.
And the defense working to discredit Cohen, who has for 2 days detailed the hush money scheme to pay adult film star Stormy Daniels before the 2016 election.
You know, typically on cross-examination, there are 2 schools of thought. One is, I'm just going to make a couple key points. I'm going to get in, I'm going to get out, and I'm going to sit down. The other is, I am going to wear this witness down. I am going to expose him. I'm going to make him lose his cool. And it seems to be that latter strategy that Todd Blanche is following here.
Cohen is the last witness to testify for the prosecution, which means after cross-examination wraps on Thursday, the defense will present its case.
Today we had a very good day in court. You see what's happening.
It's still not clear if Trump will take the stand. Joining us tonight is former federal prosecutor and criminal defense attorney Tim Jansen. Tim, week 4 of testimony is starting strong with a star witness testifying. What have you made of Michael Cohen so far?
Well, what do you make of Michael Cohen? The most least credible witness you could ever have. I told another ABC today that as a federal prosecutor, if I ever put him on the stand, I probably would have lost my job as a federal prosecutor. You can't put somebody on the stand that you think is going to suborn perjury. You can't rest your case on the credibility of someone who's been convicted of perjury, lied to Congress, lied to banks. every time he speaks, he lies. So they rested their case entirely on his testimony. And he's a convicted felon. And he's on TikTok, all these different avenues, how much he hates Donald Trump. He's got every reason to lie.
Definitely some motivation. And as you mentioned, we know Cohen lied under oath before. He certainly tried to address that today with the prosecution before cross-examination began. What more can the defense do to discredit Cohen?
Well, what I would do, you know, jurors like visual things, right? They hear something and they go on to the next thing. They don't keep it in focus. I'd have 2 big chalkboards or a presentation. Every time he lied, I'd put it on there. Every time he lied, I'd put it on there. You would have at least 75 lies, right, on one chalkboard. Then you would do a separate chalkboard. Every time he did something without Trump's permission, right, he recorded him without permission. He opened a false bank account without permission. So then you would see like 100 different things he either lied about or did in this case without Trump having any knowledge. And then they want you to believe this guy.
And compared to Stormy Daniels, Cohen has been pretty calm and composed on the stand. Is this a strategy after the response to Daniels' testimony?
Is it any surprise he testified on a Monday? They had all weekend to get him dressed and prepped. I see a congressman came out and said he prepped him over the weekend. So sure, they're not going to prep Stormy Daniels. Stormy Daniels is who Stormy Daniels is. She came across fiery. Her testimony really wasn't relevant to any issue in the case. It was to keep the salacious details. It's probably going to overturn. If there's a conviction, it will never stand because of her testimony that came in. They asked her one question. Do you know anything about the bookkeeping of the payments? No. Done. You're out of here. It was just for salacious details to drag the trial on.
Listen, we know falsifying business records is the actual crime in question, fudging records related to checks Trump sent to Cohen to reimburse him for paying off Stormy Daniels. Have the prosecutors done enough to prove that Trump is guilty of that crime?
Well, it doesn't seem like they have. It took 18 days before they even had one witness talk about the bookkeeping. And then there's another witness, the missing witness, who's in prison, who Michael Cohen said he told him all this. And there's a jury instruction that they can infer that the state doesn't call that missing witness. It would undercut Cohen. So I don't believe that they have. Remember, the standard we have in America is beyond a reasonable doubt. It's a very high standard. And, you know, most people say, would you buy a used car from Michael Cohen? Probably not. Would you buy a dog from Michael Cohen? Probably not. So would you really put the former president of the United States in jail based on his testimony alone and reach beyond a reasonable doubt?
And it's important to note that only one juror needs to say no to throw this all out. Tim, thank you so much for joining us.
Okay. Thank you, Nicole.